The Great Hall of the Galactic Academy buzzed with excitement. Hundreds of alien students from across the galaxy gathered in their seats. It was the final test, their last mission before graduation. Each student team had to choose a planet to study, gather data, and submit a survival analysis. Huro, a tall insectoid from planet Vorex, leaned toward his teammate. Let's pick something simple, maybe a moon with no predators. Sarla, a sharp-eyed bird-like alien from Drinnock, flapped her wings in disagreement. Too easy. We need a challenge, something real. Zarn, their team leader, had already made his choice. He stepped forward to the giant holoscreen and spoke clearly. We choose Earth. The hall fell silent. Then came the laughter. Earth, that old dirt rock. One student called out. They still use fire for cooking. Another joked, humans. They're barely above animals. Even the professors exchanged uneasy glances. The head instructor, Professor Thalos, stood slowly. He was an ancient being with glowing skin and thousands of years of knowledge. His eyes locked on Zarn. Earth, he said, voice calm but heavy. You are bold, Zarn. Zarn stood firm. We want a real test. Earth is still classified as a Class 5 hostile world, a death world. That's why we chose it. The laughter stopped. Professor Thalos nodded slowly. Very well, but you should know this. Earth is not what you think. The data is incomplete. For a reason. That planet changed even the archives. A cold silence filled the room. Then, without another word, Thalos approved their request. The journey began 3 hours later. Their ship, the Seeker's Edge, glided through star lanes, heading toward the Sol system. Inside, Zarn, Sarla, and Huro reviewed Earth's public records, climate shifts, predator density, toxic atmosphere in some regions, continents shaped by war, ice, and fire. Why would any species stay here? Huro muttered, scrolling through. Earthquake charts. They didn't just stay, Sarla replied. They thrived. They studied ancient human images, firefighters running into collapsing buildings, children playing beside volcanoes, old soldiers smiling with missing limbs. They look happy, Sarla whispered. Why? The question hung in the air. For days in hyperspace, the ship entered Earth's orbit. The blue planet spun below them, covered in swirling clouds and vast oceans. It looked peaceful, quiet, almost beautiful. Zarn adjusted the scanners. Let's not be fooled. Start remote scans. Suddenly, the ship's console blinked red. Warning, the system said. Atmosphere shows unpredictable patterns. Extreme climate zones detected. Volcanic activity ongoing. Huro's antenna twitched. This place is alive. Down below, a storm the size of a continent spun over the ocean. Lightning danced across its clouds like electric veins. Farther north, a mountain range glowed faintly. Red active lava flows. ZARN opened a CUM channel to Earth's orbital station. This is research vessel Seeker's Edge requesting permission to begin observational studies. A calm voice responded. Granted. Please stay in high orbit. Direct land contact not advised. Sarla frowned. Why not? The voice replied, because Earth doesn't like visitors. The channel closed without explanation. The team stared at each other. Zarn stood. Get ready. We're starting with human culture files. For the next 12 hours, they watched thousands of human records, wars that lasted generations, cities built on deserts, children raised in battle zones, athletes pushing their bodies beyond pain, explorers diving into black oceans without knowing what waited below. Then came the strange part. Humans smiled through it all. During disasters, they laughed. During war, they made art. When nature punished them, they adapted and came back stronger. Sarla turned away from the screen. They're insane. No, Huro said slowly. There's something else. Something harder. They moved to studying human biology. Bones healed faster than average. Muscles responded aggressively to stress. Their immune systems adapted to threats within hours. And their minds could face fear, trauma, and pain, and still fight. Zarn stared at a report. They evolved here. This planet shaped them, made them what they are. Then a new file appeared. First contact record. Human response. They opened it. The footage showed an early galactic scout ship landing on Earth nearly 200 years ago. It was meant to be peaceful. But the crew had misjudged human language. They landed in the middle of a military base. Within 30 minutes, the humans had captured the ship without killing a single alien. The commanding officer even offered them dinner. The final words in the report chilled Sarla to the core. Humans didn't react with fear. They reacted with curiosity. And when they smiled, we couldn't tell if it meant peace or war. Later, that day, a new message arrived from Earth's Orbital Council. A human representative wished to speak with them. His name was Commander Rix. He appeared on the holoscreen gray uniform. Short hair, calm eyes. "Hello, travelers," he said. Warmly, "I hear you're studying Earth," Zarn replied politely. "Yes, Commander. We are here to understand your planet." Rix smiled. "Understanding Earth is like catching a storm in a bottle." "But I'll try." He leaned closer. "You see, Earth isn't dangerous because of our animals or our weather, or even our wars. It's dangerous because we never stop." He paused. "We never stop growing. We never stop fighting. We never stop changing, even when everything tells us to give." "Up we don't," Huro asked. "Why your world is cruel. Your history is full of pain." Commander Rix answered softly, "Because that pain taught us how to live. Earth didn't give us peace. It gave us challenge, and challenge made us strong." Then he smiled again just slightly. "And when a Deathworld makes something strong, the galaxy should pay attention." The screen went dark. No one spoke for a while. Later that night, Sarla watched Earth's surface from the observation window. Fires glowed in distant forests. Lightning split the sky. Somewhere below, people were still awake, still dreaming, still surviving. She whispered, "This place, it's not a Deathworld. It's a forge," Zarn agreed. "And humans are its steel." By the time the mission ended, their report was ready. They returned to the Galactic Academy in silence. The laughter from before didn't return. This time, the students leaned in, listening closely as Zarn spoke. "Our findings are clear," he began. "Earth is not dangerous because of its weather or creatures. It is dangerous because of what it created: humans, beings who adapt faster, survive longer, and resist harder than any species we've studied." He paused, then added, "Earth didn't just make life, it made defiance." Professor Thalos nodded, a strange sadness in his eyes. "Now you understand," he said. "The Academy approved their mission with high honors. But the team knew something had changed, not just in their records, but in their hearts. Zetar and Sarla and Huro would never look at Earth the same way again. And across the stars, the name Deathworld would no longer be a warning. It would be a reminder that some worlds don't breed peace, they breed survivors. The orbiting ship-seeker's edge floated silently above Earth's atmosphere. Inside, the alien students Sarla and Huro sat in the main control chamber, their minds heavy with what they had learned so far. But they had only scratched the surface. The next phase of their mission was deeper, to explore Earth's ancient history. Not just the wars or the biology, but the raw, untouched beginnings of humanity. Sarla adjusted the interface and spoke softly, activating Earth Historical Archive timeline scan. 300,000 years back, a ripple moved through the holographic display. Earth's surface changed, forests spread. Ice ages came and went, massive animals roamed the continents, and in the middle of all this chaos, tiny figures moved upright, curious, fragile-looking. Humans, Huro whispered, or at least what they used to be. The data fed into their screens in real time. Zarn leaned forward. These creatures had no claws, no fangs, slow runners, weak skin, no natural armor. And yet, he paused, eyes widening as the hologram showed a human tribe trapping a giant beast 3 times their size. The humans worked together with fire, tools, and strategy. The beast fell. They hunted monsters, Sarla said, her voice full of awe, with sticks and courage. They moved through the timeline quickly. The students watched humans migrate across continents, adapting to frozen tundras, scorching deserts, high mountains, and toxic jungles. No matter where Earth changed, humans adapted. "It's like this world tried to break them," Huro said. But instead, it made them stronger. Then came the rise of cities. Fire became electricity. Sticks became missiles. Language turned into code. The aliens watched as humans invented machines, flew through skies, and reached space, still carrying the same fire in their eyes. And all of it was done without any outside help. No galactic guidance, no alien alliances, just pure, brutal progress, Zarn said, shaking his head. They built all this, while fighting the planet every step of the way. Suddenly, an alert beeped on their console. New archive discovered. Unfiltered historical testimonies, warning. Graphic content. Sarla hesitated. Should we view it? Zarn nodded. We came to learn the truth. All of it. The first file played. It was an old recording. A human soldier, dirty and exhausted, sat in front of a flickering camera. My name's Jacob Rains, he said. Unit 21. We've been cut off for 6 days. No food, no med supplies. Lost half the squad to frostbite, but we held the mountain. He coughed, blood in his hand. You don't survive this kind of place by being brave. You survive by being stubborn. You survive by refusing to die. The screen went black. Sarla blinked. That man was dying, and he still wanted to hold his position. Another file played. A teenage girl this time. She sat next to rubble and smoke. The earthquake took my parents. The fire took our home. But I have my brother. I'll keep him alive. We're not done yet. She looked into the camera and smiled through ash-covered cheeks. They never stop, Huro said, voice barely a whisper. They just keep going. The final recording showed a human astronaut. She was alone in a damaged spacecraft orbiting Mars. We lost contact. Oxygen is low, but I figured I'd send one last message. She smiled softly. We weren't built for space, but that never stopped us. Then she saluted the camera. Earth made us tough. That's all we needed. The files ended. Silence filled the chamber again. The alien students sat motionless, trying to understand what they had just seen. Zed finally spoke. I've studied 100 species. None of them would have survived even half of this. Sarla looked away. I used to think humans were lucky. Now I think luck had nothing to do with it. Huro added. They're not products of evolution. Alone, Earth didn't just shape them. It tested them again and again, and they passed every time. Suddenly, the ship's AI announced incoming data burst origin, Earth archives topic, extinction events. Display it, Zarn said quickly. The data revealed a list of 5 major extinction-level threats Earth had faced. Asteroid, impact, supervolcano, global plagues, nuclear near-wars, and climate collapse threats. Each event had killed millions or nearly wiped out life. But humans, they always came back. Sarla read the numbers aloud. 200 million dead in one war. And they still rebuilt cities within 10 years. Zarn stared at the Earth below them. Death didn't stop them. It only pushed them harder. As the team digested this, something strange happened. The lights dimmed. A new message appeared marked unknown source. They all looked at each other. Should we open it? Huro asked. Zet Aaron nodded slowly. Yes. The screen flashed once, then showed a dark room with a single human figure. He wore no uniform, no title, just a plain shirt and old eyes. He spoke. With a low voice, most aliens don't understand Earth. They see our violence, our chaos, our endless hunger for more. But they don't see the reason. He leaned forward. This planet was never easy. It forced us to fight not just the world, but ourselves. It gave us pain. And pain became our teacher. His eyes glowed faintly in the light. You call Earth a death world. You're right, but not because it kills. Because it builds life that refuses to die. The screen faded, then nothing. Silence returned once more. Zarn rose to his feet. We need to update the report. Sarla and Huro followed. They spent the next 6 hours typing into their logs. Every note was detailed, every fact backed by what they had seen. At the end of the report, Zarn added one final line. Earth is a crucible. Humanity is what survives the fire. When they submitted the file to the Galactic Archives, a small notice appeared. Thank you for your report. Warning, Earth research tends to change observers. Sarla leaned back, eyes on the blue world outside the window. You know what's strange? She said softly. What? Huro asked. She smiled a little. I was scared of this planet now. I respect it, Zarn added. Respect is good. But never forget, respect is what comes before fear. They turned back to the windows, staring down at the world below. It still looked quiet, peaceful. But now they knew the truth. Beneath the calm sky, under the dancing clouds, lived a species that had survived ice-fire war and death itself again and again. The alien vessel Seeker's Edge floated over Earth's night side. Below, millions of city lights twinkled like stars scattered across continents. Inside the ship, tension filled the air. Sarla paced the command deck. We've studied everything: climate, biology, history, but it still doesn't feel complete. We've seen their pain, Huro added, but not their strength, not up close. Zarn stared at the Earth, slowly turning beneath them. Then it's time. We meet one direct contact. The decision was made. Contact protocols were strict. No weapons, no scans, no threats. A neutral zone had been prepared by Earth's orbital. Council a secured facility on a plateau in the Andes. Mountains, isolated, safe, contained. The dropship launched silently into Earth's atmosphere. Fire licked its sides as gravity took hold. Clouds rushed past. Mountain peaks grew larger below. The ship landed with a soft hum as the ramp lowered. The 3 alien students stepped out into Earth's thin, cold air. Snow crunched beneath their boots. The sky was pale with twilight. A single building stood nearby metal square, simple, and waiting in front of it was a human dot. He stood motionless, tall, broad-shouldered, older. His uniform was plain, dark blue, his face lined with age and storms. But his eyes held stories. Zarn stepped forward first. "We are honored. Thank you for allowing this meeting. I'm Sergeant Dorian Beck. Retired, or trying to be?" His voice was calm, low, measured, like someone who had spoken in war zones. Huro glanced around nervously. "Are we safe here?" Beck raised an eyebrow. "You're on Earth. You're never completely safe, but I'll do my best." He turned and walked toward the building. Inside, it was warm. Basic lights, no guards. A single table, 4 chairs. "Sit," Beck said. "Let's talk." They sat across from him. Sarla broke the silence. "We've studied your world for weeks. Death, pain, disaster. But you smile through it all." Why? Beck looked at her, calm. "Because we've already faced the worst. Once you've buried your friends in the mud, once you've held your breath waiting for a bomb to drop, once you've watched the sky catch fire." He leaned back slightly. "We smile because if we don't, we break." Zarn asked, "Why didn't you leave Earth? So many species choose easier worlds." Beck smirked. "And do what? Float around in perfect weather? Drink recycled air and eat paste? No thanks." He tapped the table. "Earth's hard, but it makes people harder. The winds cut your face. The sun burns your back. The winters try to freeze your soul, but it's ours. We were forged here." Huro leaned in, fascinated. "What does Earth mean to you personally?" Beck didn't answer right away. Then he said, "I was born in a city that sank during the flood season. I survived 2 earthquakes before I turned 20, got drafted into the border war at 20, but I also saw a stranger carry an old woman 3 miles through fire. I saw kids laugh under a burning sky. I saw a blind man rebuild homes by memory alone." He paused. "Earth is pain, yes." Every word carried weight. Beck stood, walked to a small cabinet, and returned with something wrapped in cloth. He placed it on the table. "But the survivors walked back. Through radiation, through storms. We walked." He looked directly at Zarn. "That's what you're here to understand, isn't it?" Zarn nodded slowly. "We thought the term Deathworld was fear propaganda, a title to scare off weaker minds." Beck chuckled. "Maybe it was, but it's also true. One guy broke all his fingers, still kept digging." "They saved every child," Sarla whispered. "That's impossible." There was a long silence. Then Huro, his voice trembling, asked the question they were all thinking. "Why do you keep going?" Beck's answer was soft. "Because stopping would be surrender, and Earth didn't raise quitters." A quiet wind howled outside. Zarn stood slowly. "We came for knowledge. But what we found is more than facts or data. We found spirit, fire, resistance." Beck stood with them. He extended his hand. One by one, the aliens placed their hands on his. It was a silent gesture. Tell your people Earth isn't dangerous because of what it has, it's dangerous because of what it makes. We don't survive Earth, we become it. The dropship lifted into the night sky. As they rose higher, the world below shrank into darkness and lights. Inside the ship, no one spoke. Back in orbit, their report was finalized. Humanity is not a product of Earth's beauty, and it carries that challenge with pride across the stars. As Zarn signed the file, he added a personal log. Meeting the human soldier changed everything. We came to study survivors. What we found were warriors molded by a world that never offered mercy, and they never asked for it. The transmission was sent, and across the galaxy, a quiet signal pulsed from Earth. A Deathworld, a birthplace of unbreakable life. Back aboard the Seeker's Edge, the mood had changed. Zed, Arin Sarla, and Huro sat in silence. Not because they lacked words, but because their thoughts were too heavy for speech. The face of Sergeant Beck still lingered in their minds. His voice echoed in memory. Earth didn't raise quitters. Sarla finally broke the silence. We've seen how humans live, how they fight, but one thing still doesn't make sense. Huro turned toward her. What do you mean? Why didn't we hear about Earth before this mission? She asked. Why was Earth of all places left out of the galactic education grid? Zarn's eyes narrowed. He tapped into the ship's secure data node, typing in the override codes. Let's find out. The ship's central AI responded in a calm tone. Query accepted. Accessing redacted archives. Red words flashed across the screen. Classified, Earth Origins Access. BY permission only. Restricted file tagged. Cultural quarantine. Zarn's fingers froze. Cultural quarantine, he repeated, shocked. That tag is only used for species too dangerous or unstable to be studied openly. Sarla stepped closer. But humans aren't unstable. The file finally opened, line by line. The truth unfolded thousands of cycles, long before humans had spaceflight turley. Alien explorers had made contact with Earth, quietly, secretly, but those explorers never returned. Reports surfaced. Alien drones taken down by crude but effective traps. Surveillance ships crashed after unexpected human attacks. In one account, a single human soldier had driven off an entire scouting team armed with nothing but grit, explosives, and a broken radio. Were met with hostile resistance. The species displayed extreme territorial behavior, tactical creativity, and illogical bravery. Sarla's eyes widened. They thought humans were too dangerous to interact with. Huro pointed to another. Entry. Recommendation. Avoid direct contact until the species matures beyond aggression and emotional volatility. Classification. Deathworld Intelligence. Type R. Status. Observation only. Do not engage. They all stared at the screen. In stunned silence, then came a message that chilled them. A personal log entry from an old diplomat of the Galactic Assembly, dated 1,300 years ago. Earth frightens even the most ancient of our species. Not because of its weapons, but because of its people. They do not wait to evolve. It is permission. Sarla leaned back, pale. They weren't ignored, they were feared. The next few files showed evidence of covert Earth surveillance. Even the earliest space probes launched by humans had been intercepted and quietly studied by galactic observers, but none dared intervene. Every time humans reached a new threshold fire, flight, fusion, they reached it not with caution, but with defiance. Huro's voice shook. Is that why the Council pretended Earth didn't matter? Because they were afraid of what would happen if humanity ever found out. Zarn didn't answer immediately. He scrolled to the most recent classified entry. Incident report, Earth Year 2186A, single human vessel, disabled and outnumbered. Managed to bluff a Zelthian war fleet into retreat using non-existent weapons. Entire crew survived. The bluff worked due to human unpredictability and fearless negotiation. Conclusion: humanity's greatest weapon is psychological. Zarn's hands trembled. They didn't just survive their death world, they became unpredictable. Because of it, then Sarla whispered something that none of them wanted to admit out loud. They didn't quarantine Earth to protect it from the galaxy. They quarantined the galaxy from Earth. A deep silence filled the ship. Then a new alert appeared. Incoming transmission. Encrypted source, Galactic Assembly, Relay Station 7. Zarn hesitated. Accept it, he said. The hologram activated. A tall, thin figure appeared, an elder of the Galactic Assembly. Her robes shimmered with symbols of peace, wisdom, and silence. Her voice was slow and deliberate. You have seen what others were forbidden to see. Zarn nodded cautiously. Yes, Elder, she continued. Many believed Earth should remain hidden, untouched. But time has run out. Humanity is waking up, and when they learn the truth, the galaxy will change. The Elder didn't smile, but there was sadness in her eyes, because we feared what would happen if a species forged by death, sharpened by suffering, and driven by endless will ever looked outward with purpose, Huro asked. And now the Elder's answer was soft but sharp. Now we must decide whether to keep fearing them or prepare to stand with them. The transmission ended, and with it came a heavy silence. Zarn spoke first, Sarla added, and fear won't stop humanity from reaching the stars. Huro nodded slowly. The galaxy hid the truth, but we've seen it, we've felt it. They turned their gaze to the viewing screen. Earth hung below them, blue, dangerous, and absolutely alive. Zarn opened a new report file. Final assessment. Earth and humanity, they are not anomalies. They are not mistakes. They are not to be contained. Humanity is what happens when a species refuses to bow to fate. Earth didn't break them, built them, and now they are coming. Not with conquest, but with purpose, not as monsters. The galaxy will ever know. End transmission. As the report closed, the ship slowly adjusted its orbit. The truth, to tell humanity what was kept from them, and to ask the most important question in the galaxy: what will you do now that you know who you really are? The encrypted data packet fell toward Earth like a silent meteor. Disguised as harmless radiation noise, it bypassed orbital sensors, dodged satellite grids, and quietly slipped into the hands of the Earth Council's hidden data vault. Only one person was authorized to open it: Dr. Alina Maraformer, astrophysicist, now lead for Earth's First Contact Defense Division. She stared at the blinking terminal in her private lab beneath the Andes Mountains. Incoming message source: unregistered galactic relay tag, EARTH, cultural quarantine lift. Unnoticed, her hands trembled as she opened the file. Lines of alien text appeared, translated automatically through the old language decryption AI her team had reverse-engineered years ago. And then the words struck like lightning. Earth was never lost. Earth was never forgotten. Earth was feared. She kept reading. It explained the secret surveillance, the missing satellites, the intercepted probes, the reason Earth had always seemed alone in the stars. 100 governments had sent ships. Most had disappeared. The few that returned brought silence, orders, and sealed archives. The galaxy hadn't been ignoring Earth. It had been watching Earth from afar. Carefully, quietly. You were not kept out because you were weak. You were kept out because you might be stronger than all of us. Elena's heart pounded. She knew she had to call the emergency assembly within an hour. The Earth Council met in the underground command hall. Generals, scientists, ambassadors, every nation was present, even the fractured ones. Alina stood in front of the huge screen, her face pale, her voice steady. She read the message out loud. There were no interruptions. No one spoke, not even when she displayed the oldest hidden data logs showing alien ships that had crashed on Earth decades ago, covered up and buried under lies. One council member finally asked, "Why now?" "Why did they send this now?" Alina turned, her eyes grim. "Because they know we're waking up faster than they expected, and they're not sure whether to welcome Usor prepared to run." A murmur swept through the room. Then a voice from the shadows. "General Havers, we have one question, Alina. What do we do now?" She stared at the screen. Then she answered simply, "We answer them." 3 days later, a signal was prepared. Not one sent through satellites or standard communication bands. No, this one was more human. A space probe was launched from Antarctica, a sleek, silent missile carrying Earth's reply, embedded in a cube of titanium and carbon shield. It wasn't flashy. No threats, no weapons. Just a message, one sentence. Burned into steel. You feared us because we survived, but now we are awake. Back aboard the Seeker's Edge, Zarn received the message first. He played it aloud for Sarla and Huro. Listened, then stared at each other. Huro whispered, "They know," Sarla added, and they didn't react with fear or anger. Just purpose. Zarn nodded slowly. They accepted the truth faster than any species in known records. Then, a second signal arrived, an Earth military beacon, now repurposed to broadcast on open galactic channels. Humanity transmission number 1. To all observing species, we know who we are. We know what Earth is. You called us a death world. You were right. But that death world raised people who do not break. So we offer peace but not obedience. We seek friendship but not fear. And we will explore the stars not as victims, not as invaders, but as equals. The galaxy went silent. Dozens of worlds stopped broadcasting. Some locked down their stations, others panicked, but a few smiled. Among them, the oldest warrior race, the Varnok, sent back a message of their own. Finally, someone worth standing beside. Meanwhile, back on Earth, things began to shift. Recruitment centers filled not for war, but for exploration. Schools opened new divisions. Alien languages, zero-gravity engineering, diplomacy training, and in every city. One name spread like wildfire. The Death World packed a new Earth. Initiative open to all nations focused on human-led exploration into the stars. Alina Morrow was named as the first Earth ambassador to the galaxy, but she had one condition before taking the role: I want to meet the ones who told us the truth. And so, 3 days later, the Seeker's Edge touched down once more on Earth. But this time, there was no secrecy. News channels around the world broadcast the moment live. 3. Alien students stepped down onto Earth's soil. No weapons, no guards, just open hands. Alina walked toward them. Zarn spoke first. "You're not what we expected." Alina smiled. "Neither are you." They shook hands, and for the first time in recorded galactic history, humanity met the stars on equal footing with eyes wide open and no lies between them. Later that night, Zarn recorded a final log aboard the ship. "We came to Earth to study a death world. We expected chaos. We found courage. We expected monsters. We found hope. Humanity was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to rise. And now that it knows the truth, it will not stop." He closed the file. The stars above twinkled below. Earth turned in silence, but everyone watching and every planet that could see felt the same chilling thought rise in their hearts. Death world or not, humanity is coming. The invitation had been sent. For the first time, the Galactic Assembly formally requested a diplomatic visit to Earth, not for war, not for observation, but for curiosity, and power. The delegates chosen were the elite, tall, elegant beings from the inner worlds of the galactic core. They had ruled for over 10,000 years, built cities the size of continents, manipulated stars for warmth, engineered peace. To them, Earth was the curiosity, a backwater planet that somehow survived the harshest of trials. So, when Earth offered them a tour, they accepted with quiet arrogance. 3 ships descended. The Kirel ambassador, Mevala, 12 feet tall and draped in silver neural fat, the first to speak upon arrival. "We are honored to visit your world," she said to Ambassador Alina Morrow, "but we must request full access. No hidden lands, no sealed areas. We wish to understand the whole of what you are." Alina gave a tight smile. "All right," she said, "but there are places you'll regret seeing." The Varnok delegate, Crag, a veteran of 600 battles, grinned. "Perfect." "I like regret." Mevola raised an eyebrow. "Earth is still classified as primitive. Your species lacks planetary defense grids and clean neural transfer systems." Alina stared straight at her. "We also lack fear." That ended the debate. The tour began. First they saw the Megacity's shining towers, rebuilt after old wars, pulsing with human resilience. Then the low-orbit stations, where humans trained for interstellar missions with grit and zero luxury. Then came the forests. The scars of climate disasters turned into vast green oceans of REGROWTH. The alien delegates nodded politely, impressed but not overwhelmed, until Crag asked a simple question. "What is that red zone on your map?" Silence fell. Even the human guides hesitated. Alina turned to him. Zone Red is off-limits. Not even most humans enter it. It's not because we can't, it's because we shouldn't. Mavola stepped forward. Alina looked at her, then gave a long sigh. Very well, just armored walls and reinforced plating. As they neared Zone Red, the skies changed. Clouds thickened. Air grew heavier. The land below was scarred black soil, cracked stone, twisted metal structures poking from the ground like broken bones. Zaun, watching from orbit, sent a quiet ping. Are they really taking them there? The transport landed near the edge of a ruined structura, city lost in one of Earth's last great internal wars. The buildings weren't just broken, looked melted. Radiation markers blinked red. Bio-warnings flashed. Mavola stepped out in a protective suit, her translators humming. What happened here? Alina pointed to the center of the ruins. We lost control. Not to aliens, not to machines, to ourselves. Crag walked through the ash. No survivors. Alina turned. We don't count survivors here. We count consequences. Suddenly, the ground shook. From beneath the city's edge, a low growling rumble echoed. The alien team froze. What is that? Mavola asked sharply. Alina didn't answer immediately. Then she said, there are still machines here, early combat AI prototypes from before the international tech ban. Some evolved. Mavalis. Eyes widened. You let them roam. We don't let them. We just don't stop them. This is where we learned the price of forgetting our limits. Suddenly, movement. One of the alien guards raised a scanner. Unregistered motion, fast 10 o'clock. Something large slammed into a fallen column behind them. A blur of rusted steel and glowing red sensors. Crag reached for his plasma staff. What in the void is that? Alina calmly raised her hand. A hidden human soldier emerged from the mist and fired a signal round. The ground pulsed, the machine paused, then backed. A wave vanished into the smoke. Alina turned to the stunned delegates. That was a Predator-class unit, designed by humans, for war. We built them in desperation, taught them to adapt, and then tried to shut them down. They refused. Mavola looked shaken. Why not destroy them? We tried. They adapted faster than we could reprogram eventually. We gave them a zonus. Zonend made a deal. You stay in, we stay out. Crag gave a slow nod of respect. You made a ceasefire. With your own creation? Not a ceasefire, Alina said. A warning. The team returned to the transport in silence. The alien minds, once proud and cold, now buzzed with unease, as Zarn answered, because fear doesn't teach respect, but truth does. The alien delegates returned to the Galactic Council a week later. Their report was blunt. Earth is not primitive. They have faced demons external and internal and lived. They mastered horror and locked it in their own soil. The species that walks freely on that planet is not to be underestimated. Crag ended his report. She made a rare admission. We thought they were behind us in evolution, but perhaps they are ahead. Just walking through fire, the machines below moved quietly in the shadows. She whispered, we buried you, but not because we were ashamed, because we learned behind her. Then she turned and walked back into the light. In the Andromic sector, there was a cursed planet. It had no name, just a designation burned into Galactic Council archives, PX-117. Unsuitable for all life. Winds stronger than steel blades, radiation storms, no breathable atmosphere, temperatures that could flash boil bone 1 minute and freeze stone the next. For centuries, PX-117 had been used as a horror story for young alien cadets. You think Earth is a death world? Try surviving PX-117 for 5 minutes, but then a signal appeared, a tiny distress beacon. Human code. The galaxy froze. No one had ever claimed that planet, not the Varnock, not the Kirel, not even the scavenger factions. It wasn't just dangerous, it was impossible. Yet the signal kept repeating. This is Station Haven, alive and holding. The Galactic Recon Bureau dispatched a drone. It returned with footage that made analysts doubt their own eyes. A dome, a working structure with power, lights, greenery inside it. A lone human stood beside a small solar generator, wearing worn-out survival gear and waving up at the drone. His name was Eli Vance. Eli had vanished from Earth 5 years ago. presumed dead after his deep space transport was hit by an asteroid field. But he didn't die. He crashed on PX-117 with half a survival pod, 10 liters of water, a broken AI assistant, and a cracked helmet. Any other being would have perished in hours. But Eli didn't just survive. He adapted in an interview recorded by the drone. Eli grinned at the camera. "I had two choices: die quickly or build slowly. I chose the hard one." He explained how he found geothermal pockets, redirected heat through scavenged piping, and built an airlock from pieces of his ship and crushed alloys. He reprogrammed a mining bot to become a greenhouse assistant, taught himself how to process PX-117's toxic soil into something edible, barely grew food, boiled water from the storms, fought off heat storms by digging deeper, fought frost by burning oxygen in carefully timed bursts. He had survived for 4 years alone. The council didn't believe it at first, so they sent a recon team for elite species. All suited, all trained, all doubtful. They landed just outside Eli's dome. The second they stepped out, 2 of them collapsed, hit by an unexpected electromagnetic pulse from the clouds. Eli stepped out of the dome, holding a makeshift staff. Wearing a half-melted visor and a jacket, patched with alien tech, he dragged the 2 aliens back into the dome without hesitation. When the others entered, they saw it for themselves: a tiny greenhouse, a water recycler, handmade filtration, cracked monitors, a human sleeping pod rebuilt into a command seat. Eli offered them a cup of reboiled tea. "It's not good," he said, "but it'll keep you alive." They stared at him like he was a myth. One of the alien scouts finally asked, "Why didn't you call for help earlier?" Eli leaned back and smiled. "Didn't think anyone would. Believe me. Besides, I wanted to see if I could win." Word spread across the galaxy. Species who once mocked human stubbornness watched footage of Eli walking through PX-117 storms with nothing but a tarp and a defiant grin. A Deathworld survivor, living in the deadliest place ever recorded. Not for a day, not a week, years. Some called him a hero, others a lunatic. But one thing became clear: humanity wasn't just hard to kill, it was impossible to stop back on Earth. Alina Morrow watched the broadcast in silence. Behind her, Zarn said, "He turned a grave into a garden." Alina nodded. "That's what humans do. We build in places others fear." The council immediately offered to extract Eli. A fleet was prepared, but when they contacted him, he refused. "I've made a home here. It's mine now. If you want to visit, bring seeds and books. I've got plenty of room." PX-117 was reclassified by the Galactic Council from PX-117, unsuitable for all. Life.2, PX-117. Human zone caution advised. A small plaque was placed near Eli's dome, funded by 3 alien governments and engraved in 5 languages. It simply read, "Here lived a man, alone, and that was enough." Years later, young explorers would journey to PX-117 to visit the dome. Some cried, some stood in awe, some left token sides, stories, old Earth flags. No one dared try to take it, because they all knew if one human could build a life on a world like that, then humans could live anywhere. And if they could live anywhere, they could thrive anywhere. And maybe, just maybe, no one would ever be safe from their determination again. The Galactic Council had always underestimated Earth. Sure, humans were unpredictable, violent, tough, but strategic. No, not in the eyes of the galaxy's elder races. The Varnock had centuries of tactical doctrine. The Kurel used probability engines to predict outcomes across timelines. Even the synthetics of Sigma-9 used pure logic to dominate war simulations. Humans, they were seen as too impulsive, too emotional. They called it bravery. The galaxy called it recklessness. But all of that changed the day they discovered the War Room. It began with an invitation, after Eli Vance's survival on PX-117 shocked the galaxy. Curiosity about Earth reached new heights. The Galactic Assembly requested to study Earth's defense systems, not just weapons, but strategy. Earth agreed, but under one condition: come with your best minds and bring time. The council chose their top military analysts, strategic savants, war historians, AI tacticians. They landed on Earth expecting to see clunky command centers, outdated simulations, and improvised tactics. What they found was a helicopter waiting at a private airstrip. The pilot spoke plainly. "You're not going to a base. You're going somewhere older." They flew deep into the Himalayas, past clouds, past peaks, until they saw it carved into the side of a mountain, hidden beneath centuries of ice and stone. Fort Silence, there were no markings, no banners, just a sealed titanium gate that opened after a silent scan. The delegates stepped inside and froze. The walls were lined with ancient rock, but the air vibrated with high-frequency power. A corridor led them downward, then downward, again, until they reached a chamber unlike anything in the known galaxy. It was vast. Hundreds of holographic displays hovered in the air, each showing real-time simulations of war zones across the universe, not just Earth's own battles, but alien conflicts. Battles that hadn't even finished yet. A Kiro War tactician stammered, This data's from sectors we haven't even opened to the public." The human guide nodded. "We watch everything, always have." In the center of the room stood a single round table. Surrounded by chairs, some dusty, some still warm. Above it floated a model of the galaxy. Earth was not at the center, but its strategies were. A woman stepped forward, mid-50s, sharp eyes. General Myra Thorne. "Welcome to the real mind of Earth." The aliens tried to speak, but she waved them to silence. Then she pressed a command. The galaxy model flickered, then reshaped. This time, it showed war simulations. What would happen if the Varnock invaded Kirel space? If the synthetics turned rogue? If Earth lost its moon? Dozens of outcomes, none accidental. Each one had a human plan behind it. Each one showed how Earth would survive and often win. Mivola, the Kirel delegate, whispered, "You prepared for us." General Thorne didn't blink. "We prepared for everyone." She walked to the main display. A timeline appeared. "After the first contact," she said, "we assumed we were behind, technologically, militarily, socially." She tapped a point on the screen. "But what we had was unpredictability and desperation. Another tap, so we built this place. Not to control the world, but to outthink it." A simulation began showing Earth losing a war, then turning the tide with a single untraceable move, collapsing a stargate using gravity pulses humans weren't even supposed to understand. Crag the Varnic warlord growled, "You'd use that against a superior fleet?" Thorne looked directly at him. "If you corner a species with nothing left to lose, you better pray they never studied chess." The aliens wandered through the war room's side halls. There were archives manuals written in dozens of languages, war games modeled after extinct species, records of ancient Earth strategists from Napoleon to Sun Tzu, to simulated neural generals trained on chaos theory. There was even a room titled Failed Peace Plans. One alien analyst paused. "Why study peace in a war room?" A human lieutenant nearby replied, "Because peace is just another strategy, one we prefer, but not if it blinds us." Before they left, the alien delegates were each handed a single data slate, encrypted, labeled "Only if you ever plan to invade Earth. Read this first." Mivola looked at hers for a long time, then asked, "What if we don't plan to invade?" Thorne shrugged. "Then consider it a gift, or a warning." When they returned to the Galactic Council, they delivered one unified statement. Earth is not unpredictable. Earth is not unprepared. Earth is not reckless. Earth is strategic beyond what we imagined, and they've been planning for all of you since the beginning. Crag, who once called humans tactically naive, said just 3 words after the tour, "We're not ready." In Fort Silence, General Thorne turned to her team. "We showed them just enough," she said. A junior officer asked, "What if they call our bluff?" Thorne smiled. "They won't, because they're wondering what we didn't show." Behind her, a sealed door blinked red. Its label, Strategy Class Black, open only in case of extinction. And beneath it, etched into steel, "If Earth must fall, make sure the galaxy falls with it." In the endless wars of the galaxy, space had always belonged to the advanced. The Varnac fleets swarmed with antimatter cannons. The Kiril used gravity-bending ships. and the synthetics moved faster than light. When the Council judged Earth's orbital presence, they laughed. A few satellites, some rusting stations, a dead moon. But they didn't know what was under the moon's surface. They didn't know about Project Pale Hammer. It started 70 years ago when humanity first reached the moon, everyone thought. The Apollo missions were about exploration, but behind closed doors, something else was happening. Earth's leaders knew the galaxy might not stay peaceful forever. So in secret, they began building something beneath the Sea of Tranquility. A bunker, then a lab, then something more. They called it the Lunar Defense Vault. The public saw rocks and dust, but hidden beneath layers of lunar bedrock, Earth's most dangerous weapon was waiting. The first real test came unexpectedly. A rogue faction of the Varnock launched a test incursion, a surprise strike aimed at Earth's orbit. Just a dozen ships, enough to make a point, enough to terrify. They approached unnoticed, cloaked. They didn't expect resistance. But then Earth's satellites went dark intentionally. The Varnock commander smirked. They're blind now. And then, without warning, the moon fired. The first beam was invisible, not laser, not plasma. A concentrated pulse of gravitational energy, ripped from a field generator that shouldn't even exist. The Varnock-led ship folded in half in silence before shattering into dust. The rest of the fleet scrambled, but the second shot came faster. A stream of high-density tungsten rockets launched, with such force that each one hit with the power of a small nuke. 10 ships, 10 flashes of light, 10 impacts, none escaped. The sky above Earth was clean again, and quiet. The world's population never learned what happened. They only saw a flash on the moon, and then silence. But across the galaxy, those who watched in secret panicked. A weapon. On the moon, capable of instant orbital denial. How long had it been there? The Galactic Council demanded an explanation. Earth's representative, a quiet man named Elliot Marr, simply smiled. We've always looked up at the moon. We just thought, why not let it look back? When asked how long Project Pale Hammer had been active, he replied, let's just say it was already there when you made first contact. They didn't believe it, so they sent an inspection team. 3 ships, fully shielded, armed. Cautious, they landed near the Shackleton crater. It was silent until they entered a tunnel, cut perfectly into stone. It led them into darkness, then into steel corridors humming with power. Inside, they found a control chamber manned by 2 humans in pressure suits and a strange AI with glowing red eyes. A single console showed Earth in orbit, and every foreign vessel above it. Alien inspectors asked, "You track us from here?" The human nodded. "We see more than you think." Another asked, "Why build a weapon so far from home?" He answered without looking up, "Because home's worth protecting from every angle." Even above, the aliens left with trembling hands. What unnerved them wasn't just the weapon. It was the calm of the humans stationed there. They weren't celebrating victory, weren't flexing power. They were waiting for the next time they had to act, not out of vengeance, not out of anger, just out of cold, practiced readiness. Soon after, a leaked file spread through the dark networks of the galaxy. It showed blueprints, CODNA, MES, not just one moon weapon, 3, Project, Pale Hammer Project, Stone Echo Project, Mirror. Lance, the last line of the file chilled everyone. If Earth ever falls, the moon won't. Later, during a closed-door meeting, a Corel general asked Earth's military chief, "Is the moon a weapon or a warning?" The human simply replied, "It's both, but mostly it's a promise." After that, nobody spoke lightly about orbital superiority, and no alien fleet dared to hover too long near Earth because they knew the sky wasn't empty. The moon wasn't silent, and humanity wasn't bluffing. For centuries, Earth had been called a Deathworld, a term whispered with both curiosity and fear. But the galaxy never truly understood why. They saw Earth's gravity, its deadly wildlife, the toxic atmosphere. They thought that was it, but the real danger wasn't the planet. It was what the planet does to you. A group of elite explorers from the Galactic Council finally volunteered, not to invade, conditioned their bodies for human-style oxygen levels. They believed they were no weapons, just nature. The plan was simple: survive 10 days, document everything, the kind where every breeze, every twig snap meant something. One of the explorers, a Kyril named Maran, felt it first. This world watches wolves that watched but never attacked. It wasn't just survival, it was a trial, and reactions faster. Even the fragile Barleen delegate who came from a low-gravity water world began walking stronger, standing taller. Earth didn't break them, it was rewriting them, not physically, psychologically, spiritually. Day 7 brought them to a broken city, what humans once called Detroit. The buildings were cracked and rusted, but life still bloomed between the ruins. A recording device triggered as they stepped in. A hologram of a human woman flickered into view. To whoever finds this welcome, if you're here, you've made it past the wilderness. That means you've felt it, the pressure. They slept in a crumbling library that night. One of the synthetics found an old book titled The Art of Resilience. This planet wasn't destroyed, it survived itself. And in doing so, it made survivors out of humans. Day 9, near the old Colorado Range, they met a human. He stepped out of the fog, wearing a worn jacket and steel-gray eyes. No weapons, no fear, just presence. He didn't say much, he just looked at each of them and said one sentence. The galaxy thinks Earth made us strong. He paused. But it's not the planet. It's the choice to stay and face it every single day. On the final day, the 12 explorers stood at the edge of a cliff. They had seen pain, beauty, struggle, and strange. Wild peace, they didn't. Want to leave? One of them, Zari, from the peace-loving Aryan species. Is this what it means to be human? Maren, once cold and logical, answered slowly, No, this is what it means to survive, where everything is against you, and somehow grow from it. When the dropship came to extract them, only 10 boarded. 2 chose to stay, to walk the Earth a little longer, to learn, to test themselves, to change. They returned to the Council, changed forever. The report was sealed. But a single quote was leaked to the galaxy. Earth is not dangerous because of its beasts or storms. It is dangerous because it forces every being to face their limits and go beyond them. No one leaves Earth the same, because Earth doesn't let you stay the same. And from that day on, whenever someone in the galaxy spoke of testing themselves, they didn't look to war, they looked to Earth, not a death world, but a trial world, where only the strong return, and those who do never fear anything again. The end.